Tyler, the Creator, broke the internet last week when he sat down with Maverick Carter to deliver his usual brand of honest, discourse-starting takes. In the 26-minute interview, he touches on a bevy of topics, from his relationship with his mother, to his music-making process, to where he finds the most enjoyment and fulfillment across his various creative outlets, to how he's seen things change in the industry from when he broke out in the early 2010s, to how his relationship with fans has changed over that time as well. The funny thing is, Tyler predicted that people would clip the part where he talks about stans and take it out of context. He was half right. People did clip the interview, and those clips led to a lot of discourse, but not about the moment that he predicted. A few different clips from the interview were making their viral rounds last week, but the one where he seems to call out the rapper Ian has been getting probably the most attention. Also bubbling were the ones where he talked about how a lot of today's rappers don't carry themselves like musicians, and aren't giving value to the music itself. Tyler is hardly the first person to get on the internet and say that they weren't a fan of what Ian was doing. But this one got a response from Ian's manager, Boo, who also happens to be Akon's brother. Boo said, "Yo, Felicia the GOAT, I signed Ian and I'm from Atlanta. He sounds nothing like Gucci or Future, LOL. It's called influence. But I never thought I'd see the day where you became old and hate on the youth, LOL." Is Tyler the Creator, the artist who grew up right in front of us, and was once that raucous kid himself, pissing off all of the old guard in hip-hop, becoming an old head? What does it really mean to be an old head? One of my first videos on this channel was actually about the same thing, but on top of me just being better at making videos now than I was then, it was more focused on listeners and not artists themselves becoming old heads. So I want to look at this a little bit more from the artist side. I want to give Tyler the benefit of the doubt though, and I want to go through his points in the video, all of them, not just the viral clips, and see if Unk has a couple of points or if our GOAT is washed. But first, if you like videos on music like this, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe. I drop one every week. If you want to see them early, go to my Instagram, HADJI, throw me a follow, and join my broadcast channel. I post the links in that channel one day early. Also, I have a song coming out on August 28th. It's called Showtime. If you like the instrumental in the background, that's kind of what it sounds like, so keep a lookout for it. I'm dropping the Spotify pre-save link in the description. I'll see you there. Back to the video. Tyler, the Creator, is 33 years old, and he burst onto the scene in 2010 as a member of the group Odd Future. The group spawned some of the most important musicians of our generation, not just Tyler, but also Frank Ocean, Earl Sweatshirt, The Internet, and Sid, and even Steve Lacy, kind of. They set the hip-hop industry ablaze with their raucous shows, line-pushing lyrics about killing celebrities that were definitely indebted to like early Eminem, a one-sided beef with Steve Harvey, colorful shirts with donuts and cats on them, and a general outsider's approach to the music industry that captivated a lot of fans, made a lot of record executives very rich, and spawned a whole generation of weirdo genre-bending kids. Look, I can't sit here and give you the full Odd Future timeline in one sitting, and I bet somebody already has on this platform, but as someone who was in high school for it, watching it was one of the most important and formative cultural experiences of my lifetime. You don't know how badly I wanted this shirt in high school when I saw the Bimmer video. And of course, Tyler's own experience as a youth in the music industry will forever color his views on the young artists who come after him. One of the clips that went viral was from calling out artists that he didn't think were taking the art form seriously enough. Let's hear it right from him.
Is your frustration with them because you care about this art form so much?
I love this art form so much, bro, and there's so many out right now that aren't musicians that are getting treated like musicians because they make meme records or whatever. And I'm like, bro, it's niggas out here that's really special, really aliens, really talented, really putting in the work. And y'all giving this dip who these niggas publicly will be like, I don't give a fuck about music, I just do this shit for money. Like,
I agree with you.
Like, get your bag. I love that. But like, when every publication is like, hell yeah, let's put that out. Man, a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 20-year-old gonna see that and be like, man, I don't really care about you too. This is a quick bag. Now you taking up space for niggas like me.
Some might say that during Tyler's early days, he was goofing off during interviews, making some joke songs, and those are valid points. But even in some of his earliest interviews, you could also see how ambitious Tyler was. Like when he sat down with the Drone after South by Southwest in 2011.
Greatness to me is finally getting my video on MTV. It's on there now, and I'm happy. I finally got my on MTV. Some people might think that's selling out or whatever, but I don't really give a That's great to me. I'm proud of myself. I've been wanting that since I was 7 years old, and I finally got that. And hard work pays the off.
He definitely had a penchant for jokes and memes, but he usually coupled that with some serious work. For someone who worked as hard as he did from the outset, dropping a full album every 2 years like clockwork from 2009 to 2021, consistently touring, doing vlogs and content, starting his own clothing company, because honestly calling it merch is like a little bit reductive for the level that he's gotten into. If he sees artists come into the game and say things like, "This music thing ain't serious to me," then I can see why he would be offended for the art form that he spent so long toiling within, despite not being fully accepted in it at first, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. But I do think there is a little bit of a disconnect here for Tyler about the way that artists have to carry themselves in 2024. Tyler was able to establish his fan base before short form media and the infinite scroll took over everyone's lives. He may have had to fight against gatekeepers and powers that be to get on those big stages and get taken seriously as a musician after being regarded as like a goofball and a provocateur and getting banned from entire countries because of his lyrics. But he's never really had to fight against an algorithm before. For many artists now, it's not enough to just make good music. Tyler had the benefit of an audience that was willing to dig for new things and download zip files of mixtapes and check them out, and then go look for clues on his Formspring page. Music discovery these days is driven by short form content and algorithms, whether it be a clip of a song going viral or the artist persona itself being the driving force. To be fair, Tyler does acknowledge this himself in the interview.
In 2024 now, with filming, with this and that, with voice recording, all of that, that's something I'm not used to.
Yes.
That's something I don't think any of us is used to. And when I signed up for this stuff, that not only wasn't the landscape, our brain wasn't even
Knowing that was coming.
And Tyler says he didn't sign up for all of this. For fans trying to figure out what he's eating for breakfast and getting it posted on Academics or the Shade Room. It's funny though, because Tyler in his own way used to post what he was eating for breakfast.
Cinnamon.
All my life, I've really liked syrup. I just liked eating waffles all day.
Have you ever had bacon and syrup?
I'm not finished.
But
Stuff. So let's get started.
We'll grab
First
the
off,
toaster.
oh my God, can you let me do what I need to do? First, you start.
He had outlets like TV shows and even his own show on Adult Swim at a time when that legacy media meant more to people. And the social media platforms that he's complaining about didn't really exist yet, or have the same level of influence that they currently do. He's right though that a lot of times these platforms spend a lot more time advertising antics than they do music. But do we necessarily have to blame the artists for that and say that they aren't putting value onto the music? These pages have the choice to post what they want, so the blame starts there. But they tend to let engagement statistics dictate what they're going to post and their whole content strategy. And so it kind of falls on the audience for clicking on the antics more than the music. Plenty of artists will complain about how blogs don't post them, or only post them for silly stuff or controversies or beef instead of actually talking about their music. And if anybody can empathize with that, it should be Tyler. He opens his first album, Bastard, by complaining that Two Dope Boys and Nah Right were not posting his music. And if he was that age now in this world, where these blogs are posting silly things and antics, knowing Tyler the Creator, I think there's a pretty good chance he would have tried to get on doing some kind of silly stuff like that. For artists who are actually able to get the audience to care about a song, they end up finding that one viral song is not enough. A good friend of mine named Rob Apollo is a rapper who had the #1 song on TikTok a couple months ago. And that was an awesome moment for him. It changed his life. And he's gone viral for new songs a couple of times. And what really struck me is the comment sections of one of those more recent posts, where people said things along the lines of, "Wait, you made that song and this one?" Even somebody with a pretty unique image, who goes viral multiple times, is constantly reintroducing themselves to people who have already saved and liked one of their songs. The truth is, many people on social media don't even stay around long enough to listen to something for longer than a second or two. That's why so many of the artists who are breaking out today seem image first. Ice Spice and Dave Blunts are just a few examples within hip hop. A memorable image means that people can register what they're looking at and identify and remember an artist that much quicker. Image has, of course, always been important. And Tyler himself was great at using image during his time and his era. And he still is, when he was coming up. But it has only gotten more and more important for new artists in this new era of music. And while Tyler could shock people with crazy lyrics and crazy antics at shows, for a good chunk of the internet audience, artists these days don't even have their attention long enough to show them something like that. People tend to blame the audience's attention span for the lack of engagement on actual music content on social media versus other things. But the truth is, it wasn't always a thing for music to have to compete with all these other forms of media in the same device. In the past, you had music on the radio, or you had music on a CD, or on your iPod. If you wanted to watch silly videos, you could turn on the TV and go to America's funniest home videos, or you could open up the old version of YouTube and watch like silly YouTube videos. Nowadays, all of that stuff is directly competing with each other on people's Instagram and TikTok feeds. This is to say nothing for the rise of podcasts, or even YouTube videos like this one, where someone just kind of talks to you. People have so many choices for content, and for the most part, they're consuming it all on the same device. Well, it doesn't feel like that long ago that Tyler and his friends with Odd Future broke through, and it really wasn't that long ago in years. It's ancient history in terms of the landscape of media and entertainment. And it's with this context that we should look at Ian. Ian has already created a lot of discourse before Tyler's comments. I'm a part of that. I did a video on him a few months ago. So people were very excited to enter the ring again and get back to work. He sucks. He's the future of rap. Back and forth on the internet, feeding off the dopamine of likes, comments, and quote tweet dunks. So you got this white kid and he raps on these 2006 Atlanta style beats and makes dressing like a regular milquetoast white kid a part of his image. I mean, kind of, because he's actually got like $400 like Margiela sweatpants and shoes on all the time. But it's like basics. Even if they're expensive, they're like basics vibes. He's gotten cosigns from the likes of Cole Bennett and Lil Yachty, the latter of whom many people, including me, would say Ian out-rapped on their song Hate Me. He's somebody who knows what will get clicks without really actually saying anything. And that's why he's perfectly tailor-made for 2024. You see that when he imitates the Lil Yachty festival entrance, or when he gets on stage and plays Beethoven. He's found his way onto a lot of For You pages. And apparently Tyler's included in that. I'm gonna be honest here, my first gut reaction is that Tyler hating on Ian is not out of some sort of Oldhead complex. I find Ian's manager Boo's statement about it to also be pretty contradictory. He says that Ian sounds nothing like Gucci or Future, but then he says it's called influence. I mean, if he's influenced by him, then he must be getting parts of the sound from somewhere. To be fair, I don't think Ian sounds vocally that much like those guys. If you listen to a song like Magic Johnson, you hear like a slightly more lyrically dexterous, like bar-focused version of Yeet. I guess you could then draw the line from Yeet to Future, but I still feel like the real connection comes from the production, not what Ian's necessarily doing on it. The beats are slightly more polished versions of the Atlanta trap sound from the 2000s and early 2010s, and that's really what Tyler was trying to pinpoint with his comments. It's also important to note that Tyler never said Ian's name, but I mean, he's probably talking about Ian, so everyone's just assumed that he's talking about Ian. So at this point, even if he wasn't talking about Ian, he was talking about Ian.
Kid right now, it's white kid, regular like Caucasian man, and he's like mocking Future and Gucci Mane like rap music, and like people are like, this shit hard. It's not even like satire. It's like, I'm just joking, I'm just mocking it. But I'm like, no, you can't do. And I hold rap music so close to my heart because it changed my life and everyone's life around me, and I'm a nerd about this shit. This is like weird.
The thing about Ian is that he doesn't say anything ridiculous on social media. He isn't making these volatile statements to get attention. He's not a provocateur like a 6ix9ine kind of character. He really does it with his image without saying anything. If you close your eyes and you listen to Ian, you wouldn't really have any issue with it. The problem is if you closed your eyes, the music would never reach you in the first place. Because even though he is a pretty decent rapper, it wouldn't stand out enough on its own without the virality of the image. I mean, within the underground, within the scene that he is considered to be a part of, for sure. But I'm talking about reaching Tyler the Creator and Tyler the Creator sitting down with Maverick Carter. Like, that's not happening without the image. And he's not alone in that. Virality and imagery is how most artists get to us these days anyway. On one hand, I do kind of feel for Ian, because it's not like he's in the blogs or social media saying anything totally boneheaded. It's not like he's had a Post Malone moment where Post went on and said, if you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip hop. After breaking out with a song called White Iverson and having braids, there's an angle where you can see Ian as a kid who just grew up listening to the kind of music that he's trying to make. And Post Malone, of course, now is making country music. People are worried that Ian is going to make the switch into country, and he's kind of carrying what other white rappers did before him as a burden in that sense. But on the other hand, making your album cover a reference to the "you know I had to do it to him" white boy is a statement, even if you aren't actually saying any words. It's like, hey, look at the dichotomy between this picture and the music. It's not that the music is bad. I actually think Ian is a pretty decent rapper, especially if you adjust for the era that we're in and the sound that he's going for. He gets off some clever lines, and I think I like him most when he has that kind of detached sense of humor. Like when he raps about buying Japanese clothing and it not fitting him, been there. Or when he says, if I'll face this blunt, I'll die here, in the Lil Yachty collab. It's just like the way he says that is, it's entertaining. That's a good bar. He is a little bit overzealous in his use of slang, and he raps in a voice that might not be how he grew up talking. It's hard to find clips of him talking besides the odd TikTok here or there. So I'll reserve my judgment on that, but I am a little bit skeptical. Even if he really talks like that, and he always has, the stuff he says sometimes borders on putting too much dip on his chip a little bit. Bars like, ain't shit to throw some cash on your Brody head, he touched my guy, we Mortal Kombat finish him. Big, and they censored whatever word went here, makes his ass do the running man, it give him a scare, are not doing him any favors. Music can be fiction, of course. But to me, and to be clear, it's just my opinion, it's not particularly compelling fiction. He's not telling stories about being this mafioso type of character with a level of detail that makes it feel like well thought out. And the bars about Mortal Kombat and Running Man, they're just like entry level. And they're not worth making the violent insinuation in exchange for the wordplay. If you're gonna do that, make the wordplay crazy. 21 Savage talked about making someone do the Running Man like 4 years ago. He's not adding anything when he does this kind of stuff. And what I find kind of frustrating about it is that he's not always playing a character in his music. When he raps about that Japanese fashion stuff, it feels a lot more honest. And you know what? There is a market for that too. So while I don't think Ian's music alone is like intended to be a mockery of hip hop, it feels like he hasn't fully found himself despite being thrust into the limelight. He's definitely not the only rapper to rap about doing stuff that he's never done, and that's also not something that's reserved just for white rappers either. But to me as a listener, if you're going to be very obviously doing that, at least try to say it in a way I haven't heard before. The image that he's led with so far is basically begging the audience to dig into his songs and look at the bars that he's saying. And when you couple that image with these like boilerplate, half-baked lines like, ooh, I'm gonna get your homie whacked, like, ooh, made him do the Running Man. Like, it's gonna rub people the wrong way, and I can see why. The how I look versus how I sound method is a very common way for a new artist to go viral. And it's been that way for a few years now. Even before the big TikTok boom, artists like RMR and Mustafa the Poet went viral for that exact kind of approach. Even some of my best performing TikToks on social media have been like, I'm a teacher, I look like this, I make music that sounds like this. And like that kind of stuff has gone viral. Because the audience is just interested in being like, looks like this, sounds like this. That's just something that people that's just social media content right there. But in the hanging mic epidemic era, the looks versus sound method is an even more common strategy. Beyond Ian, Forbats is another artist who used this method of promotion and dichotomy to get attention. It is surely not a coincidence that both Ian and Forbats relied on this kind of image strategy and went on platforms like 4 Shooters Only to push it forward, and both work with Boo. He's the mastermind. I think he's the mastermind behind this. But either way, it is one of the most tried and true methods for getting an artist out these days. It is a point in the favor of Tyler the Creator that this is not the only way to break through as an artist in 2024. An artist like McGee, who Tyler has been spotted at one of his shows, has been grinding for years, releasing music since 2018, and producing a ton for other artists before an avalanche of support and listeners started to come in with his latest album, 2-Star and the Dream Police. Of course, not every artist is as talented as McGee, who is genuinely a generational guitarist and producer, and is taking leaps forward in his vocal ability and his songwriting. Not every artist can go that route simply because they are not as good. But you don't need to be an auteur at his level to make music that will get you a fan base and be good to a lot of people and be enjoyed and be fulfilling for you creatively. People love their favorite artist because it makes them feel something. For some artists, that will come through in the music and the music only. For others, they can build a visual world around that music. The image and world is key to pushing your music out and building a fan base that cares about you, or at least remembers you after the infinite scroll takes them somewhere else. But at the end of the day, your value as a musician is going to be tied to the music that you are creating and pushing out. Tyler is somebody who places a lot of emphasis on imagery, videos, and things that exist outside of the actual music, but he never lets that take priority over delivering quality music itself. Across his discography, you're likely to have a favorite Tyler the Creator project, and you might even dislike a few of his eras. Some of the early content hasn't aged that well. And even an album like Wolf that was a huge maturing moment for him and one of my personal favorites, it has 1 or 2 songs where you might cut yourself on the edge. Igor can be hit or miss for some people because of the singing. It's not too hard to find a Tyler hater on the internet, but it's pretty hard to find someone who will say that Tyler isn't trying hard enough, or that he's phoning it in, or that he's not creative. Tyler himself has struggled with his acceptance and his place in the rap community, be it for his antics, or his desire to always do things his way, or even his sexuality. He said so himself during his Grammy speech when he won Rap Album of the Year for Igor. And after he won, he questioned why it was called a rap album at all. To be fair, he has a point here because Igor is not a straightforward rap album. There are more rap verses on Igor than you might think, but still, I get what he's saying. Igor was a continuation in a trend in Tyler's music where he was moving further and further away from just straightforward rapping. And he became more of a composer and more of a singer and more genre bending. I think it really starts with Cherry Bomb and then it continues with Flower Boy, and then Igor is like the peak of that. 1 year before he dropped Cherry Bomb in 2014, he sat down with the late Larry King and he talked about how he didn't want to rap anymore.
Voice, but I hate rapping only because it puts you in this in this box and
Listening to him now vehemently defend the genre to Maverick Carter, on the surface you can point at this old interview and say, gotcha, we got him, you're a hypocrite. But Tyler's opinion on rap has changed over time. His 2021 album, Call Me When You Get Lost, and the following deluxe project saw him rapping on pretty much every song. I think it's great that someone can mature and have their opinions on something change. And secondly, I'm not sure if he necessarily is devaluing the art in that 2014 interview. He seems to be talking about the pressures of being perceived as a rapper and the assumptions that people make about you, especially sitting in front of this legendary old white journalist Larry King. Let's listen to him again, but a little more closely this time.
this box and I was scared for this interview because me being a rapper, I was scared of the type of questions that you would probably ask me, not even on purpose, just because I'm a rapper and things, and then people look at you different. Oh, he's a rap artist.
No, but you just said.
You see, part of the reason why Ian rubs people the wrong way is because he will never have to deal with what the rappers who influenced his sound had to deal with in terms of their image. Ian wouldn't have had to wonder if Larry King or somebody else would judge him for how he looks or make assumptions on him based around that. When Tyler mentions Gucci Mane and Future, it's not just from a musical standpoint. Gucci had a Desert Eagle pointed at his head at 15. And as far as we can tell, Ian just insinuates about being tough on rap songs because it sounds like something he's supposed to say on a rap song. Future was laughed at for what he sounded like in 2010, and now is lauded as one of the most important musicians of his generation, as he should be. So I don't think this is an old head take from Tyler, in a sense that an old head take would just be like blindly hating on the youth because they're young and he doesn't understand it. I think it's more complex than that. Using Tyler's age and stature as a deflection off legitimate criticism about Ian is not going to help Ian grow as an artist, which I think he deserves the chance to. As by all intents and purposes, seems like a nice kid and he's talented. Let the kid grow. I also think there are moments in this interview that show Tyler maturing into the role as the elder statesman of hip hop. Like acknowledging that he wants to apologize to Eminem for hating on the Recovery album when it came out in 2010, because at that time, Tyler couldn't fully understand what Eminem was going through in terms of recovering from drug addiction. Even though Eminem dissed him and called him the F slur in 2018, admitting when you feel like you were wrong, even when someone else wronged you back, that's maturity. On top of that, Tyler does champion and big up new artists all the time. He shouted out a personal favorite of mine, Jordan Ward, in his Rap Radar interview last year. Some older artists will complain about artists posting snippets on social media or having to tease a bunch of songs or whatever, but Tyler actually yelled at Omar Apollo for not posting his song Tamagotchi enough. He was telling him to post that way more. Overall, there are some things that Tyler maybe can't fully empathize with when it comes to making music in 2024. But I don't think it's fair to call him an old head. He's only 33, which is really not that old in the grand scheme of things. He's the same age as like Travis Scott, and he's anywhere from 4 to 6 years younger than guys like Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar. With that being said, old head is a state of mind. It's not really an age. I know some 20-year-old old heads, but in Tyler's case, I think his criticisms of Ian are totally valid. And while maybe he can't fully put himself in the shoes of an artist who has to promote themselves through algorithms, he is still finding new artists and giving them advice and engaging with the community. So I hereby declare that he is not guilty of being an old head. Let me know what y'all think and what you want me to cover next. Peace.